Hello and welcome. You're watching UATV News with me, Ksenia Buhai. Let's start with the latest developments. Russia continues to accumulate troops on the border with Ukraine and pulls up military equipment. Bloomberg reports that these with reference to satellite images of the military intelligence company Janes. Since November, tanks, artillery weapons and air defense systems have been pulled up to the Ukrainian border. As the publication notes, although the photographs show a small number of Russian troops, Moscow can quickly strengthen them by sending large formations by trains and planes. The National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine stated that 122,000 military of the Russian Federation are located within some 200 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Shelling reported by the OSCE on the contact line is another provocation of illegal armed groups. Tatiana Ivanova, representative of certain districts of the Donetsk region in the Ukrainian delegation to the Trilateral Contact Group, spoke about this on the air of Ukraine in Fact program. But despite this, she believes that the parties will still be able to maintain the ceasefire for at least for the period of the New Year and Christmas holidays. I think those are some provocative things that can be adjusted later. I still believe that for the Christmas holidays, New Year, the ceasefire will be established and it will be respected. At least a lot has been done for this and on both sides. And it seems to me that this is quite a serious agreement we managed to reach. I sincerely hope that we celebrate the holidays in peace and the families will have an opportunity to reunite. Ukraine is strengthening the state border with Russia. In particular, anti-transport ditches are being dug in the areas of the Sumy border detachment. Besides, the obstacles are almost ready in the area patrolled by the Kharkiv border guards. How will it help in case the enemy attacks? Our correspondent found out.
Despite the frost, the construction works are continuing at the border. Using heavy equipment, the border guards dig a ditch and raise a bank.
We are on this section of the state border of Ukraine with the Russian Federation. Behind this protective wall, there is an anti-transport ditch. The construction in Kharkiv region has started yet in 2015. Now the work is almost done. Its length is 190 kilometers.
The complex of defensive structures in the Kharkiv region on the border with Russia was initially called the Wall Project, and now it is the intellectual frontier. It is all about application of the latest technologies and technical means on a section of almost 280 kilometers.
Як ви маєте змогу бачити, дана ділянка облаштована.
This section is equipped with a rocky road on which we are standing now, a control strip, an earthen wall and a ditch which was dug behind the wall. Besides, this place is equipped with a mesh fence, surveillance cameras, which are part of comprehensive surveillance and video control system.
The depth of the anti-vehicle ditch is 2 meters, the width is 4. To pass it, a person needs certain time. Military equipment will be able to pass it, but thanks to the video surveillance system and seismic sensors, it will not be possible to do it unnoticed.
Навіть якщо це буде танк або там бронетранспортер.
Even if it is a tank or an armored personnel carrier, one still needs some kind of engineering equipment that will fill this ditch. It will take some time for the vehicles to pass it. Due to the fact that this area is equipped in such a way, we can timely detect the enemy, transmit the relevant information to the interacting bodies and subdivisions of the armed forces, take up defensive positions, and wait for the approach of the main forces.
70 towers were installed to monitor the border at the section controlled by the Kharkiv border detachment. The towers are equipped with thermal cameras that help to detect an intruder within a radius of 10 kilometers.
The state border within the Kharkiv region is under almost 100% round-the-clock surveillance. These towers are equipped and are capable of operating for up to 3 days in autonomous mode, getting power from accumulator batteries.
This year there have been more than 100 cases when border guards detained people trying to cross the Ukrainian border by passing checkpoints. As a rule, the violators did not have the relevant documents. No threats to the border from Russian military equipment were recorded here.
As of now, we have not observed any movement of troops and vehicles on the adjacent side. The border guards are ready to resolve any situations arising on the state border.
On the eve of the New Year holidays, when the number of people and cars at the checkpoint increases, the border guards will work in an intensive mode in order to quickly check documents and avoid queues. Reported by Vadim Kramer and Natalia Belokudra, UATV News.
The Great Construction Roads and Bridges Forum was held in Kiev. According to the President of Ukraine, who spoke at the event, over the 2 years of program's work, 14,000 kilometers of roads have been built in Ukraine, and they've spent $10 billion on repairing the existing roads and bridges. This includes money from the budget and funds received from international partners. And only in 2021, within the frameworks of the Great Construction, more than 7,000 kilometers of roads were built and restored. This is more than 40% of the main road network of the country.
We stopped thinking in terms of one budget year. We have changed the approach to public investment, procurement and pricing. We brought together different teams, united different agencies around long-term goals. We were able to attract state and international funds, improve the quality and even reduce the cost of 1 kilometer of roads.
Найголовніші проекти цього року – це
The most important projects of this year are the following. Of course, it's the M30 highway, the road of unity as we call it. It is renovated and crosses almost the entire country. I will separately highlight the Zaporizhzhia bridge. 2 days ago, the main structure of the cable-stayed bridge was installed in the design position. That is, in January we will open traffic along the Zaporizhzhia bridge.
Military registration for women have been introduced in Ukraine. Who will this affect and what is the risk of evading military service? My colleague studied this situation and prepared a story.
Стать на военный учет – это обязанность.
Military registration is an obligation, not a right of Ukrainian women. This applies to those whose professions are included into the expanded list, which was approved by the Domestic Ministry of Defense. It also concerns women who can undergo military service if health and age allow.
Women liable for military service should now be registered for military service. Doctors, lawyers, programmers, social workers, accountants, journalists, musicians, employees of restaurants and hotels. In total, the list contains more than 100 professions. Ukrainians react to the news differently.
Неоднозначно, но почему бы и нет?
It is an ambiguous situation, but why not? The Israeli experience is an interesting thing. Compulsory military service for everyone. There is something in this, but the role of a man is still to protect, so everything is very ambiguous.
I'm against this, I'm afraid, I'm a single mother, and how will it be? I'm scared. I feel great about this, I'm a military myself, so it is a positive news.
It is necessary to register for military service at the place of registration by the end of the next year.
Вона пише заяву про те, що вона хоче стати на військовий облік.
A woman is writing a statement stating that she wants to enlist in the military. She provides relevant copies and originals of documents, passport, identification code, marriage certificate, birth certificates of children, certificate of graduation, certificate from the work. And then at the place of registration, a decision will be made whether she is a subject of military registration.
According to the law, those liable for military service are in reserve and can be called up for service only if necessary. Of course, women can be called to the ranks of the armed forces of Ukraine or to the defense work, but only in wartime and by their personal consent.
If you recall the facts during all waves of mobilization we had, none of the women was drafted into the armed forces without her consent. Women, don't worry, it's just that now everyone will be able to feel that they are part of the armed forces.
In addition, experts say that women should not worry because there are enough male reservists in the country.
ті, хто пройшов воєнну.
There are those who in fact went through the war, those who have combat experience, and those who are ready to take up arms and defend their country. There are volunteers, reservists, and the military. In total, we have somewhere around 1 million personnel that we can arm, and in fact, they will carry out combat missions.
Employers must make sure that their employees are registered within a year. Otherwise, the management of the enterprises will face a fine of up to 8,500 hryvnias. That is a little more than $300. The employees of the enterprise who evaded military registration will also be fined. The amount of the fine will make from 850 to 1,710 hryvnias. That is $31 to $63. Reported by Vadim Kramer and Vlada Tsurkan, UATV News.
On December 25th, the world will mark 30 years since dissolution of the largest country of the world, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. On this day in 1991, after a series of grave crises, the first and so far the last president of the USSR, Mikhail Gorbachev, resigned and the Soviet Union ceased to exist. Earlier that year, a number of republics that were parts of the Union proclaimed their independence, thus making any reformation, any further existence of the USSR pointless. Researchers of the National Endowment for Democracy NGO studied the dissolution of the Soviet Union and published an article analyzing the problems that led to the failure of the Soviet social and economic policy in general and to the collapse of the country itself in particular. According to the authors, the then leaders of the USSR had not managed to cope with democratic changes amid Gorbachev's economic experiments. Big thermal modernization in Ukraine. Next year, our country is planning to insulate residential buildings. The Cabinet of Ministers has already approved a bill to launch the program. Due to it, they are going to insulate about 500 houses, as well as to increase the energy efficiency of budgetary institutions, said Prime Minister of Ukraine Denis Shmyhal. According to him, the task of the program is to reduce gas consumption by 30–40%.
This is a bill that improves the conditions for the thermal modernization program. In particular, it is proposed to simplify the procedure for creating associations of co-owners of the apartment buildings, as well as reduce the number of procedures and time required to start a thermal modernization program for residential buildings. Thanks to these changes, the building's energy management system will also be developed, which will allow a systematic approach to the whole process.
Ukrainians have started using more electricity because of the severe frost. This was stated by the Minister of Energy, Gaushchenko. He noted that even despite this, the energy system of Ukraine is working stably. Compared to the beginning of the week, light consumption has increased by another 2,000 megawatts, and now this figure is significantly higher than last year's figures.
Nevertheless, even against the background of a really increasing consumption, we can see that the power system is working stably. The generation covers all the needs of consumers. In addition, we have an additional power reserve, the same Energoatom enterprise. It still has the necessary power reserve, more than 500 megawatts.
46% of adult population of Ukraine have already received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. At the same time, 42% completed the course of immunization. This is reported by the Ministry of Health. The number of COVID-19 cases is also decreasing. Over the past day, 6,647 cases were registered in Ukraine. Most of all new infections are in Kyiv and the region. Why does one have to throw out useful stuff? A farmer from the village of Andriivka in the Luhansk region thought so due to the fact that every year a lot of straw waste is simply rotting on 300 hectares of his fields after harvesting. Burning it harms the soil, and burying it in the ground is not profitable. Therefore, the entrepreneur decided to make briquettes from straw for solid fuel boilers. What are the advantages of such fuel? Our correspondents will tell.
Welcome to our workshop.
Farmer Ivan Chunihin invites us to his small factory. A workshop for the production of biofuel from straw is located in a small village where only 7 people live now.
The technology for the production of straw briquettes is based on chopping straw. It gets to the bunker through heating elements. There are also special plugs that keep the temperature of some 250 to 270 degrees, depending on the moisture content of the raw material. Then there is the pressing, and in the finish we have a briquette which goes to the cooling line.
Ivan has been producing biofuel for only 2 months. A farmer with 20 years of experience, he has come to the conclusion that this use of straw is more productive and much more profitable than just burning it on the field after harvesting.
Such technologies are our future, because our fields will not cease to be sown with wheat. And wheat is secondary, the side raw material is straw. At the exit we have ready-made firewood, where there is no need to destroy the trees of the forests.
The entrepreneur received special equipment for the production of biofuel from Poland under a grant from the USAID project Economic Support for Eastern Ukraine.
The USAID project Economic Support for Eastern Ukraine aims to improve the economy of Eastern Ukraine. Our initiative started in 2018 and will last until 2024. The target geographic regions of our project are the territories of Donetsk and Luhansk regions controlled by the government of Ukraine, as well as certain areas of the Azov Sea region.
The entrepreneur equipped the workshop premises according to the project demands. He replaced the roof, windows, concreted the floor, did everything in accordance with fire safety requirements and created 4 workplaces. Each person works here for 8 hours. Biofuel production does not stop for a second. Even at night, work is in full swing here.
I'm working here from almost the very beginning, and everything is good here. The salary is not bad. A ton of briquettes costs 1,000 hryvnias. Although the work is seasonal, I am employed. During one shift from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I produce some 600 kilograms of fuel, and then the new shift comes, so I can make some 600 hryvnias a day. Our briquettes are packaged in 25-kilogram piles, but we always do some couple of hundred of grams more.
According to the entrepreneur, straw has a very high energy value at a low cost. So 1.5 tons of straw briquettes replace 1 ton of coal, despite the fact that the straw biofuel is almost 2 times cheaper.
According to tests we did, about 45 kilograms of briquettes are enough to daily heat a house with an area of 140 square meters at an average temperature of -10 degrees Celsius outside.
Ivan Chunihin sells briquettes in his community and in the nearby town of Svatove. Next year, the farmer plans to build hangars for storing straw bales. Reported by Vadim Kramer and Anastasia Volkova, UATV News.
Invisible live photo exhibition was opened at the Borispil airport. Its central theme is inclusiveness and barrierlessness. Lonely elderly people, anti-terrorist operation veterans and Euromaidan participants, people with Down syndrome, on the photos by Ukrainian and foreign photographers. The main idea is to draw attention to values such as respect, compassion and empathy.
Borispil Airport is the main air gateway to the country. There are lots of people leaving and entering the country here. The exhibition is a tool to share with those people those moments of tolerance we currently lack in our country, and we all need to think about it.
The topic touches upon a lot of different social groups that are not sufficiently manifested in life because of some stereotypes that exist in our society today. Photography is a universal language that does not require translation, because on an emotional level the viewer can understand and feel the topic much deeper without words. That's all for today. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter pages. Stay healthy and take care of yourselves.